What is up, my fellow golf ball addicts? Welcome to the Addict episode 7. This is where we take all of your wonderful questions and we answer them. And, it's just more of a public forum. You get to ask me anything. It's a more chill environment. So a lot of you seem to really enjoy this, and I appreciate all the wonderful questions you have. Real quick before I dive into those, though, I just want to give you guys a quick update. Next week on the channel is going to be a very big week. I don't want to give anything away, but there's going to be a pretty huge announcement on Monday. After that, there'll be kind of a follow-up video, most likely, discussing some other things going on. And then, it's going to be just cranking out these reviews. We only got a couple months left before top 10s start coming in. I start doing the scoring essentially for the top 100, which is going to change this year a little bit. I've taken your feedback and I've made some alterations to it. And then we'll have the Golf Ball Addict Awards. So, we're kind of getting close to that end of season. It's creeping up. Before you know it, it'll be here. It goes quick. So next week's a very big week. Just keep an eye out, keep an ear out, and, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So, real quick, guys, shout out to Magic Mind. I appreciate everything they do for us and the channel. I would not be able to do this without the mental clarity that Magic Mind gives me. If you want to try Magic Mind for yourself and change your daily routine for the better, might I add, use the code GOLFJUNE and click the link in the description and you can try out this product for yourself. It really has helped me a lot on the channel, and you guys know I've been using it for a few months now, and I'll leave it up to you. Has the content gotten better? Anyway, got a lot of questions to get through, so let me just hit this real quick. All right, cool. Very tasty. All right, let's start. Let's dive into these questions without further ado. Starting with Nick Bauman, 3438. Starting first. Question, do color and matte golf balls have an effect on performance, or are they the same as white golf balls? No, there can be a huge difference. Now, it all just depends on the golf ball. And I'll admit, this is where I've actually gotten really nervous myself over the last few weeks. I always viewed it as, yeah, I'm sure there's a difference, but I'm sure it's minimal, a yard or two, who cares? But last year I tested the Srixon Z-Star Divide and hated it. I hated it. I bashed Srixon for that. I was like, this is a joke. I was like, are you serious? It's one of the worst golf balls I've ever tested. I hate it. And I was really disappointed. Well, then this year I tested the white model and I loved it. It's one of my favorite golf balls of the year. My original thinking was, okay, well, they made it better. They came out with a new model. They must have realized it, made a mistake, whatever. Well, no, then we get the My Golf Spy results. And come to find out, there is a huge difference in robotic testing. I'm talking, again, Z-Star way up here, everything's great, and one of the worst, if not arguably the worst, the Divide, even though it's the same golf ball. But because it's put together differently, because there's different materials involved, it can have a huge impact. And I'll admit, I never realized it could be that big of a difference. Now, when it comes to like regular urethane and matte options, there is a small difference. I did a video on this. It looks like this, but essentially it took the Q-Star Tour and I compared the two, and there was some small differences, but like I said, that's kind of what I thought. Small differences, not best and worst in the difference. And so now even I'm starting to kind of get a little nervous on some of the color options. So it might be one of those things where in the future I have to kind of test, if I ever get to do this full time or whatever, I might have to test the white one and a colored one, like a yellow or green or red or whatever, and see if there's any differences, because I'll tell you what, some golf balls, it absolutely makes a difference. And wow, mine kind of blown with that. So I don't know. I've been playing a lot of the white ones lately because, I used to normally be like a yellow guy or a bright green guy. I love the Vice designs, but now I'm thinking like, okay, I need to do more testing for sure. So great question there. More on that hopefully in the future. We'll see if the development changes. All right, this is Jason B. Dentworks. Yes, I think I got that right. What launch monitor do you use? I use the Flight Scope Mevo Plus. I enjoy it very well. It's the third launch monitor I've used on this channel. It's the fifth I've tested total, but it's the third I've used for testing. I had the original Mevo, the cheaper one, around $500. I don't want to hate on Flight Scope because I do love my Mevo Plus, I really do, but man, that thing was awful. it was awful. And so I upgraded to a Swing Caddy 300i. Loved it. Easy to use. Put it down, hit it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. That's the one I recommend to a lot of, just guys who want some numbers in their backyard. It's so easy, and it's actually really affordable. I think it's down to like $350 now or something like that. Awesome. And then I did use now the FlightScope Mevo Plus because it is $2,000. It's more expensive. It's a little bit more accurate. It has more data, and I'll probably upgrade eventually again also. Now, I will say FlightScope, the only issue I really have with them is their software is just glitchy. I have all kinds of issues, and I have since I had the Mevo. Now that I have the Mevo Plus, even though I really like it, it's glitchy software. It really is. And so I wish they would fix it, but they just haven't. I've given them 3-4 years now and they still haven't. So one day we'll have a GC quad or, a Bushnell, or something like that or whatever. But for now it works and it's really good. More on that later. I think there's another question about launch monitors later as well. So we'll touch into that. Great question. Then when we look at the next question, it is from Parker Brothers Plumbing, and it says, do a comparison video with the Straight Fly Pro V1 or any other balls. So, the Straight Fly, I don't mind giving you some comparisons, and in fact, even if you want to email me at golfballaddict@gmail.com, I have no problem showing you that. I'll try to do that later in the year. I did a video kind of like this, that looks like this, where it was a blind result. I don't know if it was Straight Fly specifically, but it did compare pro balls in a blind result, and it was kind of fun. It was cool. I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. Probably need to do another one of those, to be honest with you. Next question is from Todd C. 3988, long-time subscriber, long-time engagement guy. Appreciate you, Todd. Okay, time to dive deep into the psyche of golf ball addicts. Yes, I love your questions. You always go a little bit off the beaten path. How do you approach your wedges? Just your basic 1-2 wedges at a certain degree, or are you a multiple wedge guy? Okay, we'll start with that question. That's the first question of many he has. So good question there. When it comes to wedges for me, it is all about consistency. You want to have a wedge that you are very, very, very comfortable with. When it comes to chipping, I got really good at chipping with like a 54-degree wedge, and that's why I have to use it. I tried going to a 56 for a while. Couldn't do it. I was so used to it. And when I say I'm on with chipping, I'm talking I can up and down 95% of the time if I'm chipping off the green. I got so good with it because I practiced it. I got so consistent with it. And I'm really comfortable. But I'll tell you what, if I ever get to a point where I'm like, you know what, I'll try the 60 this time, it's catastrophic. And I'm just talking about chips, and we haven't even got to pitches yet. I'm talking, it's just so different. So consistency is key in that regard. I do carry a gap wedge, a sand wedge, 54 degree, and then a lob wedge, 58 degree. So I do have them in case I need different shots, but I like using the 54. It's a really comfortable middle ground for me. When we back up, I like to try to sometimes use the lob, but again, it's just not as consistent. You have to really hit that shot right. And if you don't, it's punishing. And so using the 54 is something that I've gotten used to with, a 50-yard pitch. I know exactly on the clock system how far I need to go back. And that's kind of what I live by. But I do still have the 58, in case I'm in a bunker or I need a lot of height. But no, me and that 54, we're inseparable. We're the best of friends. Next question. Golf ball shoes. What you got? Has there been a brand that's disappointed you in footwear? Most tennis shoe brands disappoint me. And that's probably a hot take, and it might, upset a few of you. But like Nike, I'm just not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Nike tennis shoes either because, and again, this is a hot take. It's just my opinion. Please don't get mad. There's a lot of Nike lovers. For me, I used to wear the Jordans, I used to wear the Nikes, I used to wear Adidas, but then when you kind of like hit 30 and you start like asking more, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? I work at a country club, I've got millionaires around, and I start asking them their opinion. Hey, what do you wear? Then you start getting answers like Johnston and Murphy and Cole Haan, and and you're like, oh, well, okay. And then you try those shoes. It's really hard to go back, and if I had to relate that to golf, it would be like your FootJoy and your, Box Toe is another one I love. I have a pair of Box Toe Jack Nicklaus editions. Just amazing. And when you see a shoe that is crafted that well, it's hard to go back. It really is. You put on after that, something like a Nike or an Under Armour, and you're like, oh, what am I wearing? You know, or a Skechers or something like that. And you're just like, I don't. So that's kind of disappointing in that regard. Now, as far as what I have right now, I do have those box toes. Love them. I have a G4 shoe that I got for free, and it's okay. It's not bad. FootJoy's pretty good. I do have a pair of FootJoys as well that are just FootJoys on their own. And then one of my biggest surprises is one day I went to the golf course and forgot my shoes. I'm sure we've all done that at one point or know someone who's done that. I had to just buy a pair on the spot. So I bought a pair of Asics, which is a popular kind of running shoe. And it's actually owned by Dunlop Sports, which is, you know, Strixon Golf in Cleveland. It's under that umbrella. I was actually really impressed. Bought them for like 80 bucks retail, just kind of had to pay the stupid tax and eat it. But I'll tell you what, they're one of my favorite shoes. I actually do like them. They're not as nice as the Box Toe or the FootJoys or anything, but they're nice. As far as tennis shoe brands, that would be up there on my favorites. So all kinds of different brands. I've definitely always been a shoe guy. I have a variety, different colors, probably too many. My wife probably hates it, but what is she going to do? All right, next question. Still from the same guy. This is the third question. Most importantly, how many shows have you been watching lately, and how into them are you? Does your wife pick and you just play along, or do you have favorites? Okay, good question. I don't get to watch a lot of TV anymore. Between working and the kids and stuff, I just don't have a lot of time to really do anything on my own. And if I do, I usually play games. You know, I'm a gamer. Now, when it comes to TV shows, what I am into right now that I watch every night when I cook is Hell's Kitchen. I love Chef Ramsay. I watch anything he does. Yes, I'm a fanboy. You can make fun of me for that all you want. I don't care because I still watch it and I love it. So a while back, you know, my wife and I, we got into watching like Kitchen Nightmares and stuff. And so finally I was like, and then I got to watching Hotel Hell for a while. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to do this organized. I'm going to go through all the seasons of Hell's Kitchen. Then I'll go through all the seasons of Kitchen Nightmares and I'm just going to literally watch everything that Chef Ramsay ever made for television. That's my goal. So with that being said, I'm like season 11 right now, season 12, I think, on Hell's Kitchen. And so I'm just working my way through that. But every night when I'm cooking, I watch that. And it's hilarious. You know, I'll make jokes. I'll, you know, scream at my wife while we're cooking and I'll call her a donkey or whatever. And she'll hit me with a frying pan. It's really fun. We enjoy it. We do it together. It's great. And that's really all I have time for at the moment. I still want to try to get through The Sopranos because I started watching that and was really liking it. But again, it's just a time factor and it sucks. It sucks when you can only watch one episode a month. You know, you forget what happens. You go back and you're like, where was I at? And so hopefully, you know, eventually I'll have a little bit more free time and I can pick that back up as well. So yes, good question. Then we have Robert DeLeon. Sorry if I butchered that. I'm so sorry, Robert. After the Golf Spy test, I think that the ERC and the Torsoft deserve to be tested again, considering the new data that came in, and would like to see you test them with your normal swing speed. In other words, don't hold back. Okay, so I have no problem testing the ERC. It's on my list to test, and it will get a test, of course, for the top 100 and all that stuff. In fact, I've already tested it. I just haven't released it. As far as testing it with my normal swing speed, I'll be real with you. Based on the results I got, I don't think that's going to matter. It is a softer golf ball. It's meant for a little bit slower of a swing speed. I understand what you're saying with the robotic test. It did do pretty well. Again, it's one of those things where human testing and robotic testing are a little different. Not that one's more right or wrong over the other. My thing is that I'll try to do it, but I've just got another 60, 70 golf balls I got to test by the end of this year. And me swinging my 110 mile an hour that I'm at right now, I don't know if that's beneficial to that ball or to the channel at the moment. But I'll try. I mean, I always try to do what you guys want, but I'll just see if I have time. I don't know if I will or not, but I'll let you know. But the ERC, I had a lot of you ask about it. The review will be coming out hopefully soon. You know, I'll throw it in there. I just took a break from Callaway because it felt like I was doing so many Callaway balls, you know, Hexsoft and Diablo and all this stuff. And pretty soon I started getting comments where they're like, do you just review Callaway balls now? And I'm like, well, not intentionally. It just happened. You know what I mean? Sorry, but anyway, good question. All right, so here's a silly question. This is from TJNA Evans. So here's a silly question. Let's say Sir Nick of Golf Ball has been so righteously gifted a season's worth of golf balls. Inquiring minds wish to know what choice that would be. Keep in mind there aren't any wrong answers unless you choose a nitro. So, good question. Right now at this moment, you know, this is probably just recency bias, but if I was getting them for free, I'd want the Snyders. We just did those tests. If you saw those reviews, you know that those were awesome golf balls. The only drawback was the price. You know, $53 a dozen, I'm not paying that. You know what I mean? I know most of you said the same thing. You know, you're not going to pay that. So if someone wanted to give me a golf ball to play right now, those Snyders really have my attention. The spin was just out of this world. You know, 145 ball speed, one of the top 5 ball speeds. Awesome stuff. I mean, really, really awesome stuff. I'd love to play those on the course a little bit more. So that, like I said, maybe recency bias, but right now those have still got my attention. All right. Jeff Gibson, longtime, commenter. Thank you so much. A lot of you guys on here are longtime commenters. I appreciate you all. Any tips on hitting irons straighter? I recently started turning my body more towards the target. Good choice. On my follow through, and it seems to help. Bryson does this to an exaggerated fashion. So yeah, first of all, I've been experimenting with that lately too. One of the hardest things about the golf swing is realizing that, okay, I start from the top, I have to kind of turn my hips, but how much do I turn my hips, right? Because in the past, I yanked them a little too much and I would pull the ball, and then I overcompensated and I ended up not turning them enough, and I started pushing everything to the right, and I'm like, man, how do I fix this? How do I fix? And then now recently I've learned it's just that right amount. You do have to turn your hips, you do have to yank them kind of toward the target, but that right amount. It has to be Goldilocks, right? If you're making a dish, you don't want to over salt it, you don't want to not salt it, you have to salt it just right, and that's exactly how that swing is. Now, one of the tips I've always talked about, first of all, film your swing. If anyone's wanting to know that, the first thing you have to do is film your swing, view it, it will help you a ton. That's not negotiable. Oh, well, can I do this instead? No, have someone film your swing or you do it yourself, whatever, that's that. But one of the tips I always talk about, and I've mentioned many times, don't make the same mistake twice. Go out to a range somewhere, go out in your backyard with a net, wherever you hit golf balls, and just experiment and say, okay, I'm going to hit a golf shot. Let's see what happens. Bam. Oh, okay, that one went right. All right. Okay, so what am I doing wrong here? You know what? I hit it right. I'm going to yank this one left. Yank it left. And if it goes way left, okay, now I'm going to try to find the middle ground. Don't make the same mistake over and over and over. I see so many golfers, they'll go and they hit one right, and they're like, oh. And they hit one right, and they're like, and they hit one right, and I'm like, well, are you changing anything? Well, no, I don't know what I'm doing. Don't make the same mistake twice. If you hit one to the right, do everything you can to pull this one left. Because you'd be surprised how many people I tell to do that, and then they hit it straight, and they go, oh, that went straight. And I'm like, that's what it's supposed to feel like. And they're like, well, but I yanked my hips real hard. And I'm like, that's where it's supposed to be. Your swing's there. It's just kind of like the same thing with a slice. If you're really over the top and you're slicing it, I say, listen, I want you to come from way inside and really come, and a lot of the time when people do that, instead of coming way inside, they just do a normal get in the slot. And then they're like, oh, that's how it's supposed to feel? Yeah, so ultimately my tip for hitting straighter is just don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice. Engage those hips, that's for sure. The less you can engage your arms in the swing, the better. And that's what I've realized. You engage the hips, you turn, and then you just release that club through the ball. It helps a ton, get a little tighter dispersion. For a while, I was struggling with this. Really, like when I released the club, it was that, and I was getting this pull draw, and nightmare. But now I've kind of gotten a little bit better. I just wanted to hit the ball further, and so I was trying to put everything on it. But again, if you follow that advice of not making the same mistake, you can really figure out a lot. Great question. Very, very good question. I think all golfers would want to hit the ball straighter, why wouldn't you? Also, Bryson does this in exaggerated fashion. You're right. It's kind of ugly to watch. Don't get me wrong. He's fantastic, but it is weird to watch his swing now, like especially when he's chipping the ping pong balls like he's doing right now. It feels like he really yanks those hips, and I don't, anyway. It works. Hey, it works. He's making millions of dollars. Good for him. All right. ES 2056. Do you suffer from the same golf fever I do? Dang, I'll play around and I can't wait to get out there again. Unfortunately, my age requires a 48-hour recovery stage, which means I only play twice a week. But I thank the Lord that he allows me this great pleasure to commute with the sun and sky and fresh air week to week. And I honor him for this. Yeah, first of all, great opinion. Yeah, no, I thank God for golf every single day. Man, what a great sport. As far as the fatigue, I do. If I don't play at least once a week, man, I get stressed. It's my escape. It's where I get to hang out with my friend. It's where I get to hang out with my mom. We play as a scramble team. We have fun. We laugh. There's a team element. There's a camaraderie. It's just a good time. We really love it. And I'll tell you what, if I can't get out there, it's tough. And especially with the time factor now, I haven't played in 3 weeks as I sit here right now. And it's just, man, it's hard. It's really, really hard. I love playing. Hopefully soon I'll get to play a little bit more, but you know, it's unfortunate to work at a golf course and you get to play for free, but you ever can't get out there, you know? And plus, even if you do, you know, right now in Florida, the heat index, even in September right now, we're looking like 110 heat index. It's just miserable in the afternoon. It's hard, but I do love it. And yes, to answer your question, if I don't play in a week, it's very hard on me, very hard. I started to get the withdrawals and the shakes and the, you know, and so I picked up, you know, smoking instead. No, I'm just kidding. But I sometimes I feel like it, man. If I can't have my golf vice, it's like, what other vices can I get into? You know what I mean? You got any Everclear around? And oh, all right, good question. This is from Mike Specht 5066. Still waiting to see you test the new Sugar Pure. Interested in how it performs compared to how it played originally. Love the original ball. Well, Mike, I've already reviewed that. I'm sorry you missed it, but this is what it looks like. It has the ice cream cones at the bottom and everything. I did it a few weeks back. It tested very, very well. But yeah, you're welcome to go. I'll put the link in the description for you. But that review has been done, and it was the triple with all the new golf balls. It was pretty cool. So check that out. All right, Bruce, my good buddy Bruce. All right, he says, ultimately, how do you feel the golf ball rollback will affect all brands? Do you think major brands will roll back in the balls, or just the Pro V1, C-Stars, Chrome Tour, similar, maybe others alone? So, you know, I've been asked about the rollback several times. You know, at this point, I think what companies are going to do is they are going to simply roll it back for pros. The golf balls they send to the pros will just be rolled back, and because there's too many companies making incredible strides, you know, ball speed and you know, different patents and stuff. I just have a hard time believing these companies are going to give up all that research and development they've done because tour pros now have to hit a ball that goes a third, you know, 2/3 as far as it used to. I don't see that happening. So I think for the general consumer, it's just going to be normal again. I don't think direct-to-consumer companies are going to care. Why would they? They're not being played on tour anyway, so why would they care? They're wanting the most ball speed and the best specs. You know, and that's how it should be. You know, I'm sorry, the golf ball rollback is still kind of silly to me. It really is. Maybe that's an argument for another day, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to affect it that much because there's still companies pushing the limits as hard as they can. All right, this is from Timothy Martinson. Thoughts on the Today's Golfer ball test. So many of you may not realize it, but there was another robotic golf test from Today's Golfer, which is another great golf ball test. I love it. Did a video on it last year. This is what it looked like. It was fantastic. They just came out with one 3 days ago as well. Now, it's awesome. I've looked over it a little bit. I will be doing a reaction video, so I don't want to give too much away. What I loved is that, and this is the big takeaway I have, and this is what I'll answer the question with. It's amazing how different it is, right? I mean, because the big argument I had with my reaction video I did with my Golf Spy is there's a lot of people who are like, well, this is robotic testing. It's the most accurate way by far. And, you know, I've argued that because I'm like, there is no accurate way. Like, it's great data. You know, robotic testing is great data. What I do is great data. We take all that data that all these different publications are doing and we combine them, and, you know, we advanced our education and see, you know, science is the pursuit of the truth. And that's what we're trying to do is pursue what golf balls are the best, how they react, different swing speeds. It's all great. But what's funny is the people who argue that, like, well, the robotic testing, it's the most accurate, it's going to be the most consistent. Well, the Today's Golfer, totally different. Totally different. Both robotic testing, both similar golf balls tested, totally different results. And so it's all on how you set up the robot. It's all on what club you're using. It's all on, there's a lot of factors in there. There's a lot of factors in there. And so it's cool. I love it because I love getting to see, you know, the different sides of it, seeing which golf balls test great on both tests, which ones are a little different. It's awesome. But again, if you're someone who is just like really heavy pro robot testing, just keep in mind, look at these two tests. They're way different. They're way different results. So I'll be making a reaction video to that one soon. It's awesome. I love it. Today's Golfer always does a kick butt job at it. So I can't wait. I can't wait to kind of go through that with you guys. It'll be fun. All right, next up, From Jason Henderson, have you ever tested a generic Novelty logo ball and the non-branded balls for display? I haven't yet, but it's something I've thought about for years. Every year I save one of those, and I'm like, yeah, I'll test it if I have time. And I just never end up having time because, you know, I end up, like last year, I didn't even end up at 100. I had to like scramble and delay the top 100, but eventually it'll be done. I do want to see how bad it is or how good it is or whatever, but it's something I've had on my radar. But great question. Maybe I'll do it this year finally, just for fun. Okay. This is from David Gawlock. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I hope I didn't. What golf ball has the best dispersion so far for 2025? Great question. There are currently five or six. Here are the golf balls that have a 5 out of 5 on accuracy and a 5 out of 5 on consistency, both together for this year. There's only 5 or 6 of them. It is the Ulti-Speed, the Srixon Ulti-Speed, the Vice Pro Plus, the Wilson Zip, the Wilson Boost, the Precept Laddie, and the Snyder Ace. Now that is 6. Now I will admit the Wilson Zip didn't test that great as far as performance, but it was consistent, it was accurate, so that's kind of the bottom probably of that 6. But yeah, the other ones, absolutely. Those are the only 6 that have gotten a perfect score on both accuracy and consistency. So those dispersion charts were incredible, and yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to get a little bonus at the end of the year toward that top 100 because of it. All right. This is from Justin Matthew Freeman. Putter fitting, have you ever had one? I'm a PXG guy and was fitted for my irons, but I'm thinking hard on getting a putter fitting. So I've had multiple people tell me that putter fittings are incredible and they're amazing, and I've had all kinds of details. Bruce from earlier was just telling me about one he did today. It's one of those things where you wouldn't think because it's a putter, you're like, why would I need a fitting for that? It's a putter. But then when you leave, you're like, holy cow, I had no idea so much went into it. I mean, there's so many things they're going to look at. And yeah, I mean, look, if you've got the money and you're serious about golf and you've got the time, you've got the money, you don't care, absolutely go get one, 100%. If I had the funds to do so, I would, absolutely. This is from Walters.e, is that right? Best cheap ball for slow swing speed. Well, Walters, that's pretty generic. There's so many golf balls that are great for slower swing speeds. It all depends on what you're needing for a golf ball, so I really need a lot more information from that. I mean, I'll give you an answer. Precept Laddie, it's awesome. It's a $1 golf ball made by Bridgestone. It's awesome in every category. Lots of people love it. But again, is it right for you? I don't know, because everyone's game is different. Do you need help with distance? Do you need help with spin? Do you need help with accuracy? You have penalties? Like, I don't know. So, I mean, I'll just give you a generic one, but there's lots of good answers there. Howie 3-putt, always ask a question. Thank you, Howie. What launch monitor do you use? I covered that earlier, but there's a second part. Have you used the Rapsodo Pro? So I did a review on the MLM2, which is the second version of that Pro, and I was very pleasantly surprised. It's not bad. I don't like how you have to use a specific ball to really measure the spin. That bothers me. But if spin isn't important to you and you don't need it, it worked just fine. It was kind of cool. You can check out the review. I'll put the link in the description just so you can see it. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. Rapsodo sent me one and just wanted me to do some testing on it, and I did. And I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. It doesn't work for testing, but as far as like having a really inexpensive model that you can get some like simulation properties on and stuff, it was cool. I enjoyed it. Yeah, absolutely. All right. This is from Alex, who is on the channel. You see him all the time. I talk about him all the time. What about a video that goes over the rules relating to golf balls during play? Are you allowed to switch balls during a round? And if so, when? Are you able to change out a ball, for example, if it's damaged by a tree, cart path? Are there any types of golf balls that are restricted and hands that are not allowed? Well, okay, so great question. To answer the question at the end about like which golf balls you can use, if you're in a tournament or competitive play and it's governed by the rules of USGA, you have to use a golf ball that conforms to USGA, obviously. Most of us casual people don't have to have that, but yes, if you're playing competitively or whatever, then yes, you have to have that. Now, as far as when you can switch it out, technically the rules state this, you are allowed to switch them out, either once a hole. So if you have a golf ball and it gets damaged, you have to hole out with it. And then once you start the tee box, then you can go back and switch it, but whatever golf ball you hit off the tee has to be the one you finish the hole with, and that's pretty much the rule. The only exception to this is if you get relief, whether it's a penalty relief or a free relief, then you're allowed to switch it out as well because you're dropping it for relief. But again, that's kind of a rare thing unless it's a penalty. Obviously, if you hit it in the water, you're going to have to drop a different golf ball anyway. But other than that, no. I mean, if you bounce it off a cart path and it is still in play, you got to play it. And if it's got a chunk missing out of the side of it and you're putting with it, you got to putt with it. You got to get it in the hole. Had a couple of questions get added on here, so it might look a little different, but I definitely want to try to get to these here. So this is the first one from Edward Dara. It says, do you think the 2025 Wilson Triad is a better ball than the 2024 Bridgestone BRX? More on that in a second. And do you think a 20 handicap could benefit from a well-rounded ball like the Triad? What are your thoughts on bag strap sleeves? Should the starter put them on when putting the bag on the cart? Okay, we'll dive into that piece by piece. Let's start with the Wilson Triad being better than the Bridgestone. Hard to say, they're two totally separate golf balls, right? The RX is for low spin, more distance, a little bit more penetrating flight. The Triad is a little higher flight, mid-high flight. It's soft, it's forgiving, and you actually lose distance with that golf ball because it has so much spin. So they're two totally separate. I don't really feel comfortable calling one better than the other because, again, they're for two totally separate golfers and two totally separate games. So kind of a weird question there. But you said that the second part was, do you think a 20 handicap could benefit from a well-rounded ball like the Triad? I'm going to be real with you. When you have that high of a handicap, I still recommend a two-piece. I just do. Until you get down to around 10, I usually recommend, two-piece staying there, because if you can't get below a 10, it usually means you're out of bounds, you have penalties, and you just need to focus on keeping it straight and in the fairway. It might be a hot take, but it is my opinion, and it's just what I think. But yeah, 20 handicap would be way too high. You need to get like a max fly, straight fly, max fly, soft fly, any precept laddie, whatever, something that has a lot of really good dispersion and just keeps it in the fairway and keeps it good. As a 20 handicap, I just have a hard time believing that you're going to be able to consistently deliver the checkup, spin, and the control that a three-piece is going to, offer. So that's just kind of where I fall on that. Now, as far as the thoughts on the bag strap sleeves, I'm assuming you mean like it goes through to protect the bag, like the little sleeve or whatever. Or maybe the bag gets built into the bag, one of the two. But should the starter put them on when putting the bag on the cart? Well, yes, they should. Absolutely, they should. And just make sure you're tipping them if they do. That's all I have to say. Because coming from a guy who worked at a golf course, we all the time would, take the cart out. We would actually take the cart out to them, grab their bag from their car, put it on, put it through those straps, do the whole thing, and then not get tipped half the time. And I will admit that if we know you and we've seen you a few times and we haven't gotten a tip from you, we'll do the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Because actually the bare minimum as far as our job, and a lot of you are not going to like this, I understand, that's fine, you cannot like it, but our bare minimum of the job is actually to only help people who come up to the bag drop. If you want us to come out to the car, that's a whole separate service we do because we're trying to earn tips. If we realize that going out there isn't gonna, and we recognize your car, we just won't do it. So there's that part of it. But yes, they should put them through those straps. Absolutely. That's what they're there for. So yeah, absolutely. Good question. Next up, there was one more in here as well, and it was, after my, this is from Sean Taylor, longtime commenter, thank you. After my recent first ever fitting at sub 70, I highly recommend it. What's your opinion on whether fittings should be free? Sub 70s are free, but not the norm. Adam at My Golf Spy is a strong advocate for free fittings. I think, first of all, yes, fittings are awesome. I love that. I can't wait to start filming some fittings and showing you guys, and I'm hoping to do that soon. But when it comes to if the fitting should be free or not, I think a lot of companies probably have it right, which is if you buy clubs from us, it's free, but if you don't, it's not. Because otherwise, you're tying up somebody's time for sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. I've seen fittings go 2 or 3 hours before. I really have. And so I don't think it would be business-wise for a company to be like, yeah, come do a 2-3 hour fitting. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go buy my clubs from Amazon. And you're like, oh, okay, because we used to have an issue when I worked at Best Buy. I worked at Best Buy for a number of years, and it was about 2012, right about the time Amazon started getting really popular. And we'd have an issue where people would come in, which TV's the best? Oh, yeah, we'd spend hours with them. And then they'd go, okay, cool, well, anyway, Amazon has the best price, I'll see you later, and they'd walk out the door. And it was like, and you just spent all this time and you wouldn't get anything. And that was the moment that Best Buy quit being commission and started price matching. It was that moment because it was right when I got there. But we had people, I mean, 70% of people would not buy. They would just be like, oh, okay, well, I'll think about it. What's there to think about? You said this is the one you wanted. Oh, no, I got to go talk to the wife. They literally be on their phone as they're walking out the store. And so I do understand from a business standpoint why they charge. If you buy from them, it should be free, though. Now, I don't agree with if you buy from them at cost. If you're buying clubs from them and they're like, oh, it was $2,000 for the clubs and $100 for the fitting, forget you. Like, that's terrible. That's terrible to charge somebody for that if they're buying clubs from you. But yeah, anyway, good question. Once again, I want to thank Magic Mind. Thank you so much, Magic Mind, for everything you do for the channel. Guys, Golf June, hit that link in the description and use that code to get 25% off your first order, which already is already discounted because it's your first order. So good stuff there. Love to see it. All right, guys. Well, that pretty much covers all the questions. You know, we were able to get through them in 30 minutes. There weren't as many as last time. So please, if you're interested in the future about asking a question or whatever, I do a short about once a month where I basically say, hey, ask me your questions. You know, make sure you're checking out the shorts to make sure you don't miss out on that again. It's all available on all my social medias. But thank you to everyone who answered or asked a question. I answered them. Really fun time. I hope this was fun for you guys. Hope we get some more great questions in the future. Be on the lookout next week. There are some incredible announcements coming. Like I said, it's going to be a really cool week. I'm excited. I hope you are too. As always, keep watching, keep saving, keep learning. Until next time.